Laboring away. Fresh data shows a pickup in the workplace. In our cover story, how a beach cooler just became the hottest thing on Kickstarter. Plus, is Alibaba about to throw the market for a loop? And the Ice Bucket Challenge proves to be a game changer for charities. Get ready to take a splash. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Angela Miles. It's Friday, August 29th. In today's First Look, before traders take off for the holiday weekend, there is plenty of market-moving news to contend with, including President Obama and German Chancellor Angela Merkel talking about more sanctions against Russia. The president is also considering his options to combat ISIS, plus a report on inflation from the Eurozone is out today. Well, stocks pulled back on global concerns Thursday. The blue chips fell 42 points, the Nasdaq 12, and the S&P dropped below 2,000. Gold is up $7, oil 76 cents. And the first human trial of an Ebola vaccine will begin next week. That vaccine is made by GlaxoSmithKline. The vaccine will be tested in Bethesda, Maryland. Trader Bob Iacchino of Tethys Partners joined us on the show now. And Bob, what do you make of the charts with oil and the invasion, especially the invasion that's happening in Ukraine? We also have issues happening in Iraq.
Well, the ISIS situation in Iraq isn't a short-term concern. I think the administration is smart enough to not only protect Americans, but protect the oil fields and the ports, and I think they're succeeding with that. In terms of Russia-Ukraine, I think Prime Minister Putin actually wants oil prices higher. I think that's why he's pushing it, because the sanctions are hitting his economy, and it's not really working for him just yet.
The GDP reading was 4.2% yesterday, a pretty hot number there. What will that mean for the stock market?
Well, I think, again, when you're looking at EPS with stock buybacks still going on, the GDP number only proves that there's still plenty of room for the overall economy to grow, and that can only help earnings in the short term. I think there's issues with Europe's recession, but I don't think you see that in Q4, so look for strong earnings again in Q4.
What will be your strategy on this very holiday-ish trading day?
Well, quiet, really. I mean, I don't think you're going to see a lot of moves. If you see those moves, it's probably going to be lower, and it's probably going to be pushed by geopolitical acceleration. But I don't think we're going to see too much, and I think they'll come back in buying on Tuesday.
Thank you, and have a great weekend.
You too.
By land and by air, Americans are making the great escape for the long holiday weekend. It's predicted to be the busiest Labor Day travel weekend since the recession, and gas prices will be at the lowest Labor Day level since 2010. The national average for a gallon of unleaded gasoline will dip to $3.41. Diane Mocha is filling in for Chuck Coppola, who is enjoying a day off. Hello, Diane.
Good morning, Angie. The U.S. labor market is picking up, according to the latest numbers from the Kansas City Fed. The indicator that is said to be closely watched by Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen rose in July to its highest level since October 2008 to negative 0.6 last month from negative 0.61 in June. The momentum index jumped to 1.22 from 1.13 in June. The overall economy is also improving. GDP rose to 4.2% in the second quarter, compared to a drop of more than 2% in the first quarter of 2014.
Apple investors are building positions into a major event coming up after Labor Day. The maker of iGadgets is sending invites to the media for a special event September 9th. The event will happen at Apple headquarters in Cupertino, California. It's expected to include the unveiling of an iPhone 6 and iWatch. Apple shares are trading above $102.
The world of crowdfunding. An Oregon entrepreneur is attempting to ride the wave to riches with what has become the highest grossing Kickstarter campaign ever. Labor Day weekend typically draws out plenty of people toting the essentials for a good time, from cool drinks to hot tunes. That mindset is credited with also drawing in $11 million in Kickstarter funding, all for a modern cooler with a built-in blender, Bluetooth speakers, and charging port, appropriately named Coolest.
Early on, 3-4 years ago, if you sought to get $30,000 or $40,000, people really cheered. He closed his campaign, he got $40,000, or he tried to get 25 and he got 30. And then we've seen these, the sort of high point go from that, 30,000 to 2, 3, 4 million. And now today we see 11 million.
Kickstarter says about 7 million people have contributed more than $1 billion total to all of its projects, including Coolest.
It's summertime, people are having parties. This guy's got an interesting thing and people are talking about it.
According to one estimate, $1.5 billion was generated in 2011 compared to $5.1 billion in 2013. Crowdfunding sites offer platforms for ideas and time limits to obtain funding. If goals are reached, creators on Kickstarter keep 95% of the money raised without losing control of their project.
Resources to work with without having to give up any of his firm or even to have a loan with interest to pay.
While they don't get equity, contributors often get prizes, from a chance to beta test a new game for $5 to the Coolest inventor bartending your own party for $2,000.
As we see this growing desire for people to participate in these communities. So I think it's a really transformative moment in time.
It will be part of the possible ways of financing, but I don't think it's going to change the landscape.
The Coolest inventor failed to raise $125,000 last winter, but bounced back after he redesigned a flashier prototype and relaunched in July. Next February, he expects to ship the cooler to those who contributed $165 or more and begin selling it for $299.
An epic supermarket battle over a fired CEO is finally over. Employees walked out and staged several protests when Arthur T. Demoulas was removed as CEO of Market Basket by the board and at the promptings of his cousin, Arthur S. Demoulas. The workers were granted their wish. Arthur T. will now own the retail chain after paying Arthur S. $1.5 billion. Restocking is underway at Market Basket stores along the East Coast.
The jobless rate in France is at record levels. France's unemployment rate rose 0.8% from June to July. Nearly 3.5 million people are without jobs. It's the 9th consecutive increase. Economists blame the lack of economic growth in the Eurozone.
China's stock market could one day have more reach. The Wall Street Journal reports there's talk of expanding a trial program that opens investing in China's stocks and bonds to more foreign money managers. Financial regulators in China are noticing rapid growth of portfolio managers based in the UK and Singapore applying for licenses to invest in China.
A hack attack hits top banks. JP Morgan is among 7 banks being investigated by the FBI. The bank was reportedly targeted by Russian hackers earlier this month. It's believed hackers gained access into the bank's network through a JPM employee's personal device using never-before-seen malware. JP Morgan says it has not detected unusual levels of fraud activity. One IT specialist says hackers are attacking the weakest links in the corporate security chain.
These corporate systems are fairly secure. The security of the data centers are very secure. It's the end users and the third-party companies that are providing that additional means for hackers to get in.
That was Jerry Irvine of IT services firm Prescient Solutions. He advises consumers to update passwords every 30 to 45 days, make passwords complex with 10 or more characters. He also suggests signing up for text messages that send an alert when someone has accessed a bank account. JPM stock traded last at $59.16.
Discover Card is gaining momentum. For the first time in 7 years, American Express and Discover are battling for the top spot among American consumers. American Express is #1, with Discover coming in at a very close #2, according to a survey by J.D. Power. That survey covers credit card terms, billing and payment, along with rewards and problem resolution.
In earnings news from the retail sector, Dollar General reported slower than expected second quarter profits. The discount retailer is making a bid for Family Dollar, despite a counterbid from Dollar Tree. Dollar General shares closed up 50 cents to $64.20. Abercrombie & Fitch is struggling to stay cool in the trendy teen market. The company is stripping its logo from clothing as consumers spend less time at the mall in favor of buying online. Earnings fell for the 7th consecutive quarter. Abercrombie shares lost almost 5% in trading yesterday.
Restaurant company Darden is delaying its shareholder meeting by 10 days. Darden owns Olive Garden and Longhorn Steakhouse. The company is under intense pressure from activist investor group Starboard Value. This summer, the CEO of Darden resigned and the company sold its struggling Red Lobster chain. Starboard is now pushing to replace the entire board of directors. According to Darden, its annual meeting will be October 10th to ensure Darden shareholders have adequate time to review proxy materials. Darden stock lost 30 cents in yesterday's session.
Ford's Mustang is on the move. As production of its 2015 Mustang model kicks off in Flat Rock, Michigan, the car is going global. For the first time, the car will be exported to 120 nations around the world. It follows a hot streak for auto sales in the U.S., a trend Ford executives see continuing into 2015. Depending on global demand for the new Mustang, Ford may consider adding jobs at its Flat Rock plant. Ford stock last traded at $17.
Turning to the economic calendar for today, it's personal income and personal spending, PCE prices, Chicago PMI, and Michigan sentiment. On the earnings calendar, big lots. Still to come, why the stock market could be getting ready to tell all this fall. And could Alibaba's IPO rock the market to the downside? Plus, is ice bucket fever changing the way Americans give to charity? We'll be right back. Impossible to turn on the TV or go on the internet without seeing a bucket of icy water being dumped on somebody's head. This video by the Chicago Board Options Exchange of the CEO getting doused even includes a GoPro view. The ALS Foundation has launched a phenomenon that is gripping the nation, and at last check, the charity has raised almost $100 million. Joining us on set now, Lisa Dietland, president of Dietland and Associates. You follow charity trends. What do you make of this one?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing, Angie. It's absolutely amazing the fact that they are the first nonprofit to be able to monetize social media. We have been wondering who was going to do it, who was going to take Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn and be able to raise money off of it, and ALS has found a brilliant way to do it.
What does this mean for other charities?
Well, what it means is that the door has been busted open. The ceiling has been crashed through, that there's actually an opportunity for other nonprofits to look at what can they do that attracts people and gets a phenomenon going. The American Cancer Society tried it this spring with the polar plunge, but it was limited. You had to be near water and cold water to jump in. And what ALS did that was so brilliant is anybody can participate, from little kids to presidents of the United States.
Does the ALS Foundation, though, cause other charities to lose money?
No, I don't think that. That's always been my premise, that, Americans are generous. We were born in this country. If we wanted something, we built a church, we built a school, we built a hospital, that when a hurricane hits like Sandy did or Katrina, it didn't cause other charities to lose money. I don't see that effect. This is just a fun summer phenomenon that's going to have an amazing impact on a horrible disease.
But does it temper the situation that some people are getting hurt?
Oh, well, yes, it does. I mean, we always have to be careful. There's been a lot. There's been a couple of injuries, and some of them, when you look at the video, is pretty significant. And I do think that it does temper it a little bit, that some people that are getting, 50-gallon drums and dumping buckets of ice water, or, the ice that forms into a big chunk, yeah, it is dangerous. But I don't think it tempers the enthusiasm.
So keep on dumping, but do it safely.
Stir up that pot. Make sure those ice cubes are floating around.
Good to have you here. Thank you, Lisa.
Nice to be here.
Coming up, is the stock market rally losing steam? Find out in Chart Talk. And in Traders Unplugged, no tell motel. Stocks worth a check-in by investors. Snooze, you lose. Joining us now, Alan Uckman and Scott Cellady, who are worth waking up for every Friday for Traders Unplugged. And I can see you are set to go a few rounds. So round number one, victory formation. The stock market rally is in the form of a V from its lows. Technically speaking, does it matter?
Well, the first thing I want to say, we're not in the why business, we're in the how business. So how do you make money except buying? Every single dip has rallied the distance of that sell-off, positive. 2,075 is my upside target in the S&P. How do you make money?
Well, it reminds me a lot about the V-shaped recovery that the president said we would have. So considering the $4 trillion expansion of the balance sheet, this is a fantastic thing to buy into. Keep buying it. There's no downside. Every dip,
How do you
go long.
invest? How do you invest?
You be very careful at these levels. I'm not going to say that the market's going to come off, but if you've got Granny that dies that gives you $10 million, you're going to tell these people to rush out and put it in the market?
You can protect it. That's what the markets are for.
Yeah, we're buying puts. That's not a V-shaped recovery, is it?
Round number 2, Alibaba is a major sell-off about to happen, so money managers can free up cash to buy the Alibaba IPO.
I think that is a great headline for folks looking for something to talk about. You think
that's what we do here.
Yeah, so we're going to really give a lot of airtime to the fact that people are going to start liquidating their positions so they can get in front of Alibaba and buy it. I don't think so. If you have the extra cash and they want to get involved, they will, but I don't see why there's any good reason so far to sell good performing stocks to get out there and buy something that hasn't really given us any good clues
That's
yet.
true. I like Yahoo. It's down 5% so far this year, but 40% in the last 52 weeks, and they've got a stake in Alibaba. It's going to be $20 billion, so it's going to be a big deal.
Round number 3, Hotel No-Tell. It's being reported that hotels are bringing in $2 billion in sneaky charges. What's your play in the resort area?
While the ancient hospitality is gone, look what airlines did. Now hotels are doing these resort fees. I know I don't use the gym when I go, so why pay that extra $30? It's just pure profit.
Why would you use the gym?
But for the stock play, I like Starwoods.
You don't need the gym at all.
HOT, look for about a $10 move. It's trading between 75 and 85. They are positioned, half of their business is in foreign hotels. Emerging markets just made new highs, believe it or not. The death emerging markets did not happen.
5% of the people own 82% of the stocks. The other 95% really don't. They haven't really benefited from the upside in the stock market. So I'm staying with IHG. They've got Holiday Inn. Before we went on air, you're making fun of Holiday Inn. That's the only place I've ever stayed.
The Holidome. You're an everyman.
Yeah, right, Holidome.
And I'm an elitist.
So that's exactly
Is that how it works?
Champagne
Okay.
liberal Charlie doesn't want to go to Holidome. I'm going to go stick with Holiday Inn, IHG. That's where I think the money's going to go in a tight economy.
In today's bonus round, it's ticker time for Labor Day. Which one is the fake ticker? W-Day, Workday, USA, Liberty All-Star Equity Fund, or DOFF, Day Off for traders?
Day off.
Day off, yeah. Never day off.
Enjoy your day off. Thanks
you.
so much for being on the show. First
All
Business
right.
continues, but after this. Of Equity Armor Investments joins us for Chart Talk before he takes off for the long holiday weekend. Great to have you here, Dan.
Hey, thanks, Angie.
So we're checking the charts this morning on the Dow Transports, as many people will want to transport themselves out of here for today. So what do you think about the charts? Because some people are concerned here.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think that's one of the areas that we're watching very closely as we kind of see some of these other major averages pushing up to highs, or in the case of the NASDAQ, to new highs for 2014. The transports have not confirmed this most recent run-up. I mean, they're still below their high that they saw a month and a half ago, and look like they're stagnating here and kind of plateauing a little bit. So right now, trading around the 84.05 level. We saw a high in July of 84.68. So right now, that's something that's causing us a little bit of concern as we roll on to Labor Day and into the early part of September, where we're not seeing some confirmation of some of these other averages to really indicate that this rally is as meaningful as it may appear.
What levels are you watching in the S&P 500? The S&P 500, of course, crossed that 2,000 mark to a little bit of fanfare this week.
There was. Of course, it would have been much more fanfare, I think, if it was on more meaningful volume. I mean, I just wouldn't put a lot of stock into this most recent run-up, so to speak. But ultimately, certainly that was a positive from a psychological standpoint. Looking right now, with the weakness yesterday because of what was taking place over in Ukraine, and that had an impact on the market, at least in the morning yesterday, I'm looking at 1965, that 50-day moving average. If we see a little bit more weakness here, if we take out yesterday's lows, I could see us drift back down to that 1965 area before we find some support.
And to be candid, are traders seeing enough volatile days in the market to actually be able to bring in big money, make big profits?
Well, it depends on what side of the market you're playing. I suppose if you're selling volatility, particularly if you sell it on the pops, you're doing just well. You're doing very well this year. But ultimately, you're right, Angie. Right now, we're not seeing a lot of movement here to kind of key off of. Again, like I said, the low volumes, I think, have also basically put a muted expectation on volatility as well. And really kind of like, we see the moves intraday, yet the VIX doesn't necessarily react to it, just because I think that it's because of the low volume. Next week, I think we'll probably get a little bit more of a positive reading on and where the volatility is going to go. But right now, no, it's very difficult right now with these low volumes and the low VIX to really kind of play for the market movements.
They could all change in September and October. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Angie.
That's a wrap for this week. Coming up on Labor Day, Trader Talk on how to tell when it's time to sell. Don't miss profit-taking tips on our show Monday. From all of us at First Business, thank you for watching and have a great holiday.